Hey folks, we're going to Twitter for an anonymous question, and I'm just realizing now that I made a terrible choice with my shirt color because I'm wearing purple and I'm going to blend right into the rest of my room here. Okay, this one says, I've been watching the videos you record while commuting for some time and I decided to share my story with you. I'm a software engineering student studying in a foreign country, so not the US. They say they come from a poor country, their family paid for their education, and the hope was that they'd be able to get a good paying job and be able to send money back to home. And I think this is actually a not uncommon kind of thing, right? I think this is something that happens for sure. And then they said that was when the dev market was a lot better back in 2021. Okay. Then when I got studying, the economy got worse, and AI started coming out, making things even harder. Now I'm in my third year with an average GPA, but my projects are better than most of my classmates. Still haven't been able to get a single internship. Since I have no family or connections, finding an internship is almost impossible. I have applied to big and small companies, tried networking, but once they realize I'm a foreigner, and then they say, that's my guess. Sorry, there's some parentheses here. That's my guess, but seeing my classmates who are natives being able to get an internship without putting in any effort, I have to assume that they either reject me or ignore me, even when I offer to work for free. Okay. I'm thinking about paying for a fake internship just to meet the 30-day requirement to graduate. I'm scared I wasted my family's money. Don't know what to do. And they said thanks, and I'll respond. So if you want your questions answered, leave them below in the comments, or if you want to be kept anonymous like this person, feel free to send a message to DevLeader on social media. It's my main YouTube channel as well, with more polished edited videos, mostly tutorials. But if you send them in on social media, I'll keep you anonymous so that you can write whatever you'd like. Okay, a lot to unpack here. First of all, definitely a challenging situation for this individual. But there's a couple things I want to address that are going to be probably tough love. And I think I have to do this. I feel like it's my responsibility. Because I think that when people get into scenarios where they're feeling stuck, right? One of the things, it gets frustrating. But then what they end up doing is sort of looking externally and saying, well, doing comparisons or doing blame. And I wanted to address that first before we get into solutioning things, because I think that we have to do a bit of a mindset shift. Now, this is, of course, my opinion, my perspective. I assume this person wrote in because they value that, but I can't sit here and say that this is the only way, this is the right way. This is going to be my point of view. So, with that said, we got into this point around being a foreigner and that their classmates are native and they get internships without putting in any effort. I just want to say that I think that's probably bullshit. Like I said, it's going to be some tough love. Without putting in any effort. I think what's happening here is that someone feels, as in this person feels like they are putting in a lot of effort. They can't see the effort that goes in behind the scenes for other people. Right? You're not there every step of the way. You can't be able to make that claim. The other thing is that in some situations, some people get lucky, other people get unlucky, and that's a factor as well, especially with the current market. There's going to be people that apply, and they may not be the best person for the job, but they happen to stick out, they happen to get the interview, they happen to interview well, and they happen to get it. Okay, there's many factors here, but I do not think that it's fair to say that people are able to get internships without effort. And I also don't think that it's helpful. So regardless of whether or not it's fair, I just don't think that it's helpful. And the reason I say that is because that has nothing to do with you. It just doesn't. It's nothing that's in your control to be able to worry about other people. So it's two parts, right? I want you to be able to realize that it's not a fair statement because you can't see everything that goes on behind the surface. And the second part is because it's not in our control. Like, let's say you have people in your class that have really good connections, and you're like, it's not fair that they had connections and that they were able to get internships. Yeah, that does seem unfair. That seems like a very unfair advantage. So what? Like, that does not affect you. It's not going to help you in any way to try and move forward. But this is what I'm saying. It becomes a mindset thing where people feel stuck and then they start to focus on these other things. Putting time and energy into worrying about that is not going to change anything for you. I'd also say, in terms of being foreign, I went to the University of Waterloo, and I came from a small town that was basically people that just look like me, for whatever that's worth. And when I went to the University of Waterloo, I absolutely felt like a minority in my classes. Whether or not that's actually true, I don't have stats, but that's how I felt for the first time in my life. But like and there were people that were foreign. There are many people that were foreign, right? That had either their families they had gone to Canada, and so they had been in Canada for not very long, or people that literally their families were still overseas from different countries, and they were getting internships and stuff. And I felt like I had to bust my ass to get internships, right? So the comment about not having family and connections here, my family's here, but I didn't have connections to anything. I still had to go do similar things. Right? In hindsight, now that I know a lot more, like I probably could have and should have done a lot more networking. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just going, like at the University of Waterloo, we have a job portal because internships, it's a co-op program, so there's an internship system, right? So you can go apply on the job boards. But I wasn't networking by any means. I was just applying to stuff on job boards and hoping that I would get an interview. Now, I would say I would approach things very differently. But my point to get the tough love stuff out of the way is like, we don't control other people's situations. And that's just the reality of it. So if you want to be caught up on that and put energy into that, I'm saying you're wasting your time and you got better shit to worry about. That's a starting point. So beyond that, though, let's talk about things that we can do to try and improve the situation, because my goal here is not to, to crap on this person to make them feel bad, but I don't just want to sit here and say, like, that I think some of these statements are necessarily fair. I understand where this person's coming from. I understand that they're feeling frustrated. They feel like they're stuck, right? But my point is that we need to reframe. Okay? So we're going to start reframing things. What is in our control? Okay? The foreign part, I think, is a total misconception. Okay, if even on the team I'm on right now, I'm pretty sure that most of the people I work with are Indian. And that's not like a racist thing or anything like that. I'm pretty sure statistically the people on my team are mostly from India. Like, that work with me locally are from India. That's not even to say like there's a team based in India or anything like that. I'm pretty confident that most people are from India. Maybe not. Maybe it's almost equal. I'm just realizing now that there's some people that are outside of my immediate reports and like sort of peripheral. But there's a large Indian population that I work with. We have a team based in China, so that's separate in terms of people that are from China working with us, locally. One. Right? And then I have a bunch of people that report to me that are from Latin America. But so there's a significant number of people that are foreign that I work with. Foreign. So I just don't think that that's a real consideration. I think that this is a thing that's being invented as a reason. Like, and again, I'm not blaming this person for jumping to that, because you're trying to logically come up with, if I'm doing all the things I think I should be doing, there must be a reason, right? It must be this, and we're attributing it to being foreign. I just don't think that that's a reality. Okay. So they're struggling to get internships. They talk about networking. And so I would invite this person to send in their resume to my main channel, because I do resume reviews there, because I would love to see if this resume stands out. Because when we're talking about getting internships, a couple things, right? We're going to have the networking aspect, which we can dive into. We're also going to have, does your resume even stand out? They say that they have projects are still better than most of their classmates. I don't know what that means. They might have projects that are amazing. Are they showcasing that properly on their resume? If not, it doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter from the perspective of getting that job, getting that internship, because you could have the most incredible project in the world. You could have 10 of them. And if you're not doing a good job at communicating that, articulating that on your resume, then no one's ever going to know about it. So I definitely recommend this person is invited to send in their resume to my main Dev Leader channel. If you're interested, or this person's interested, if you just look for the resume review playlist, you watch the first minute of any video, it will explain how to submit a resume. That's what I would recommend to this person. I will gladly do a resume review, which is funny because it's free. Free for anyone sending it in, and it costs me money to get them edited. So I literally lose money to review people's resumes, but I'm trying to help. So take that offer if you're interested, and we can see if this person's resume actually stands out. Of course, you won't know, because I'm not going to connect the dots on these things and say that, and there's other resumes that have come in. So we'll see. My guess, though, is that this person is not doing a good job showcasing themselves on their resume. Right? I think that's probably the case. And they might feel that they are. They might feel that they have a lot of good projects. They're skilled, and they absolutely might be. This is the really challenging part, right? There's a disconnect often with this stuff, because you could be amazing, right? And the way that you convey yourself on your resume could lose a lot in translation. And the inverse is totally possible. You might do a very good job at conveying, that you are, without necessarily lying or stretching the truth too much, but you might showcase yourself very well on a resume. And compared to someone else in practice, you might not have as much experience, or maybe your skill level isn't as great. But the resume part and job applications are going to be the thing that at least get you that first opportunity. Right? Someone needs to be able to go through your resume and your application to go, at least acknowledge that we want to interview this person. If you can't get through that barrier, it doesn't matter. Like, you could be the best interviewer in the world. And if you can't get your resume and your job application to be able to land you that interview, it literally doesn't matter how good you are at interviewing, because you won't be doing it. Right? So it's challenging. We have to make sure that this person can, number one, get the visibility on their resume to be able to get the interview. And then while they're, I don't know, like, I just want to scan through this again. Did they say that they've been having interviews? I think they said they haven't. I don't think they called that out in terms of no interviews. They still haven't been able to get a single internship. So I don't know if it's on the resume front. I don't know if their resume is actually really good and that's standing out and they have awesome projects and stuff. That's great. But then they go to interview and they don't know how to interview effectively, because these are two very different sets of skills. They're related in terms of you showcasing yourself, but for most developer jobs, there's going to be a coding interview question. So something like lead code style, unfortunately. Hopefully this changes more and more as we go forward, because I think it's bullshit. So hopefully that changes more, but I would say make sure you got that down. If you're more junior, like system design questions are a little bit more rare, but not impossible. to come up. It's just that usually they're not expecting really junior people to be able to design systems like distributed systems and understand them fully, but it's entirely possible. So I would say brush up on that. But then there's behavioral interview questions, and this is something that I think a lot of developers struggle with. And a lot of the time, especially as entry level, like the behavioral stuff is generally people are trying to figure out how you work well in teams in reality. Right? Like, tell me about a time when, and then they're using your past experience to try and predict what you will be like to work with. And this is, even for people that have had years of experience in the industry, this is hard stuff for people to answer. And it's hard because I think it's like developer mindset. People will say, tell me about a project, just to give you an example here. Tell me about a project where you were leading it and you had some interpersonal conflict with another team. And then the person who's responding to the question will say, okay, no problem, got this really cool project I was working on. And then they go into 10 minutes of all the technical details. And the interviewer's like, it's just the framing for the scenario. I'm trying to hear about how you solved the conflict with the other team, right? Minimal amount of time on the technical details. You don't need that. That's not what the point of that question is. But a lot of developers don't understand this. Or they're not understanding, they might get that, but they're not understanding what the question's trying to get out of them. Or they haven't practiced the scenarios, right? They haven't practiced rehearsing different experiences and reflecting on these things. So then they get asked a question, and it's not that they don't have experience like that, but they're like, it's kind of like having drawing a blank in an exam. We're like, I know that I've done this, but my brain's just not turning on right now. So it's a really common thing to screw these things up in interviews, and maybe that's happening for this person. I don't know. It's really difficult for me to know if it's the resume front or the interview part. But these are things that are in this person's control, right? To be able to improve their resume and to be able to improve their interviewing abilities. Now, what's not in their control is that the volume of applicants that are coming in. It's ridiculous right now. There are tons of people applying for roles, right? With remote work, we have the ability, if there's a remote job, the people from anywhere can go apply for it. So instead of it just being the people in the area, and there's a lot of competition too, right? So you got all these people in a similar situation, and it can be across the world. There's going to be a lot of competition. You have to stand out even more now. So I'm not saying it's easy. It's not the takeaway here. The takeaway is that we have to focus on what you can control. And yeah, with the amount of volume, I think there's going to be a bit of randomization, unfortunately. Now, this person did say they've applied to big and small companies, and that's good, because I would say especially with the big companies, they're getting more volume, just by nature. Right? People applying to Microsoft where I work. There's going to be a lot of people applying to Microsoft. Why? Because the name is very well known. Because it is big tech, and a lot of people gravitate towards big tech. But that's not the only answer, right? That's not the only direction forward for people. There are tons of engineers that will never work in big tech because it's not a good fit for them and they're not interested. And that's the right thing for them. For sure. Tons of people like that. So you don't have to be applying to big tech or huge companies. There are so many places you could be applying to. And I'm just saying this out loud because if you're in a similar situation to this person and you're like, yeah, but I've only been applying to Amazon and Facebook and Google because if I don't get that, I'll never be successful. Man, there are tons of other places. Tons. I legitimately, in my career, I never thought that I would work at a big tech company because I just really wasn't that interested. For what it's worth. Okay, so it was never when I graduate school, I'm going to go do that. Nope, never crossed my mind. Not for a long time. So, if this person is exploring other opportunities that are at smaller companies, I think that's great. I think that's what they should be doing as well, especially for increasing the likelihood of being noticed, just because the volume of applicants will be lower statistically. Networking. This is going to be the last part that I want to touch on. I don't know how this person's networking. All right. Some people will say, I am networking. And I go, okay, well, how are you doing that? Well, I started adding people on LinkedIn and sending them my resume. Nope. Don't do that. That's not networking. That's spamming people with your resume. Networking is something that takes time. It is not a sprint. It is a marathon. You need to invest time into it. And it's another thing that's like, it's simple but not easy. So what can you be doing? Well, if you want to focus online, like technically this person sent me a message on Twitter. They are literally starting to network with me, right? In my particular case, it's a little bit unique because I have this channel when I recommend people message me. But let's assume I didn't have this channel and I just post stuff online, right? Or I have this channel, but I'm not taking people's questions. I'm just sharing my experiences. And this person was like, hey, like, I want to connect with you and ask questions about this stuff. Because I'm asking for people to send me messages, it's a little bit different. But the thing to consider when you're networking with people is that if you come out of the gate and you're asking for things, like other people are busy. Right? This is why I feel like when people send a message and they're like, hi, I'm so-and-so, here's my resume, can you review it? It's like, man, I got so much shit to do and I would love to help you, but like, I can't even help myself right now. I don't have time to do that. Now, I've made exceptions now because I'm turning it into content. That was my way to get around that. But like, no, I don't have time to just, like, I don't have time for other things. And other people, I'm not saying I'm special. Other people are in this situation too. People are like, I work my full-time job. I want to spend time with my family. I can't afford to make time to go reviewing resumes or reviewing your projects. Some people can. But my point is that going, like leading with that expectation, like, hey, can you review this for me? Or people will say, like out of nowhere, like, hi, I'm so-and-so, can I schedule a 15-minute call with you? It's like, no, you can't. And the reason for that, and I've learned this the hard way, is because people will say things like that, but they've spammed 300 other people. And I go make the time and they don't show up. I'm not doing that anymore. So when you're trying to start networking, don't lead with asking for something of other people. Like I said, this situation is different because of how the channel's set up. It's not blaming this person for doing this. Or you, if you want to send me questions and stuff, I literally invited you to do that, right? So my point is that when you're networking with other people, I would start by being genuine with the connection. Hey, I saw what you were posting and talking about, and I wanted to ask you questions about that, right? You don't even have to start by messaging them. Just start engaging with their content. Like, you can ask them questions in the comments. You can be curious. You can be sharing what you're doing that's related. Just start interacting. Just be a human being, right? You wouldn't go up to a stranger on the street and say, hey, review my resume. You just wouldn't do it. So start by normal interaction. And that's why I'm saying this stuff takes time. And then after a little while, you could be saying, hey, like, I'm really interested in the space that you're working in. Like, could you tell me a little bit more about what it's like to work in that role? Keep these conversations going. Hey, thank you so much for all your insights you've been sharing. Like, do you think that you'd have a moment to be able to review my resume if I sent it over? But like, this could be after days, weeks, months. But if you're doing this and you're investing time into networking, then you have a couple of different avenues. It's not like one person that you started talking to. Now, how do you make this even more? Well, I was giving you examples of networking online. In my head, I was thinking LinkedIn. There's Twitter, there's LinkedIn, there's people on Reddit. But what about in person? What about meetups? This person's at university, which is going to be my final point that I want to talk about, or university or college, right? But you could be going to meetups and stuff. And like I know, like, I'm very introverted. The thought of doing that is like kind of not great for me. But like, if you're trying to network, that's where people are. Go do that. That's something that's in your control. All right, maybe your classmates didn't have to do that because they had connections. Sucks. But like, you can start building connections. So go to meetups if you're comfortable with it. It's an option. Okay, last part on college and university stuff. This is something I absolutely didn't take advantage of. Whenever I talk about these things, I kind of kick my own ass for like not being more proactive about this. I always say, like, stupidly, I feel like, and it's like a hard thing to admit, I probably thought I was like better than that, whatever that means. Like, oh, it's just a nerdy thing to go like join some like robotics team or whatever. Like, that's for, like, only super nerds do that. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I'm cooler than that. I don't know. I don't actually know, but I feel like that was probably something in my head, which is ridiculously ironic because now I film YouTube videos about software engineering. Like, who's the nerd now, right? If you have clubs, teams, whatever available at college and university, absolutely try to take advantage of those things. This is a great opportunity to network. It's a great opportunity for exposure. It's a great opportunity to have experiences you can put onto your resume that will stand out because not a lot of other people have that. Everything about it is awesome. The reason I feel ridiculous for not doing it is I have so many classmates from my year that have gone on to do ridiculously awesome stuff in their careers. Like, many of them are founders of companies doing totally cool things. I'm not saying that my career has been bad by any means, but like, I look at what they're doing and I'm like, ugh, like why was I not trying to like do more networking even with my classmates? Like, it feels silly. So do that. And the final thing I'll say is that, like, hackathons. These are another awesome opportunity. Go look for hackathons to participate in. When I was working at a startup before Microsoft, I worked there for 8 years, and we would go sponsor hackathons, and we would set up a booth there. Right? And we would have students coming up. We would be talking to them about job opportunities, taking in resumes. Depending on the years and stuff, we would also be judges. So we'd go around, we'd be mentoring and judging. So we'd go help people. There'd be like a overnight hackathon. So we're there at like 4 a.m, like going around checking out people's stuff and then judging stuff, right? Like, we were there doing it from the other side. Go do those things. That's just another opportunity where you can have that on your resume, something that stands out. It's going to be networking. It's going to be real experiences that you can be building stuff in teams. There are plenty of things that you can and should be doing if you're trying to stand out more and you're feeling stuck. These are all things that are in your control. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it doesn't take time. It's simple. It doesn't mean it's easy. And it takes time. But you can do these things. And I encourage you to. And there's probably plenty of other things that are adjacent to this that I haven't even touched on. And my goal and my hope is that by talking about this stuff, it gets your gears turning where you're like, he didn't even mention whatever. Like, this Nick guy's an idiot. He didn't even mention whatever. And I'm like, great. Like, you thought of it. Perfect. Go do that. You know what I mean? Like, these are just opportunities for you to go do other things. Focus on what's in your control. Get it on your resume. Send in your resume for me to review. Practice your interviewing. By the way, if you need help with behavioral interviews on DomeTrain, I'm not going to put links because this is just too much effort on this channel. DomeTrain.com. If you look for my courses, Nick Cosentino on DomeTrain, I have behavioral interviewing as a course. If you're interested in that, you can check it out. That is paid for. If you don't want to pay for courses, that's totally cool. Just go watch my other videos and read my content because this kind of stuff comes up all the time. So I hope that helps. I wanted to say thank you so much for this person to writing. Thank you so much to this person for writing in. Words are hard. I don't mean to be an asshole. Like I said, some tough love. And I honestly wish this person tons of success. That's why I'm telling them to send in their resume. I want to be able to help. It's not easy. but I know they can do it. Take care, and I'll see you next time.